Welcome to Ngosti Talk Shows. Lead from within.
Find your own voice.
Challenges we have had to overcome in 2020.
Find your own voice.
The world has become united by the unseen, knowing there are no guarantees for tomorrow.
Lead from within.
Find your own voice.
Let the world hear your voice and be filled within.
For the day has come for you to be a great leader.
The time has come to break away from the pain, distraction, experience the unthinkable.
Welcome to Ngosti Talk Show. Find your own voice. Lead from within. Over to you, Evelyn. Please introduce yourself to our audience.
Thank you, Namza. Evelyn Van Es is my name, based in the Netherlands. And I work as an international business and life coach, speaker, and I'm a published author of Be Relentlessly Yourself. And it's a joy to be here today, and we'll continue further on. So I'm going to pass it on to Kamal to introduce himself.
Thank you. Sorry. For some reason, I couldn't find my unmute button. Thank you, everybody watching. Thank you, Evelyn and Nomsa, for being here today. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you may be in this wonderful world. Our life and what it all means. You may call it raison d'être, ikigai, or purpose. An average 90% of people live their lives not questioning their existence, not digging through it and searching for growth. They live it as it is. And most people, unfortunately, live with that feeling of being lost and not knowing where to go in their life, with no sense of purpose in it. If you perhaps feel that you're stuck in a hamster wheel, constantly grinding, constantly running, with no sense of direction, the lack of fulfillment in your life and belonging in it. My name is Kamal Ema. I am a certified NLP trainer, master practitioner, hypnotherapist, and I specialize in life purpose. And with a combination of ancient Egyptian wisdom and neurolinguistic programming, I help you create a foundation to a life of harmony, balance, and purpose. Thank you. Over to you, Nomsa.
Thank you so much, Kamal and Evelyn. So today our topic is how to manage our expectations. So sometimes we can get defeated by our expectations if we don't treat ourselves with kindness, and if we don't understand that we can control what others think about us, and we can choose how we live our lives and how we talk to ourselves. The list goes on, but I'm going to let Evelyn actually explain the topic because she chose this topic. Over to you, Evelyn, please.
Yes, thank you. Well, I think that expectations, the question is, can we live a life free of expectations? And I just think it's an extremely interesting topic because you can look at it from very, very different perspectives. And we all have expectations of somehow. And I think we can deny it, but I think it's also beautiful to look at it from, for example, the perspective that the fact that we have expectations, that means that there is a certain desire deep within. So I could jump in immediately to talk about, all the bad things about it and to really look at it from a critical point of view. But I just wanted to start off the conversation to look at it from a beautiful point of view, because Well, because the fact that we have expectations, and we can have it in different contexts. You could have it in, for example, a work relationship, as we're here as a team, having this talk show. We might have specific expectations of each other, but we could also have it towards our clients, towards our kids, towards our partner, towards our parents, and all kinds of everywhere where there is a relationship. Expectations is something that we are faced with. And so I think it's the first angle that I would like to bring up on this topic, is that expectations just have something beautiful in it, because there is a desire that is making you have that expectation. And I think that's the first thing, is that when you notice yourself that you have a specific expectation in a certain context, is that you understand what is underneath there. What is it that is making you have this expectation? What is it that you desire? And to ask yourself that question. So I just wanted to start off with this small angle to look at it, and then hand it over to Kamal to respond on it, or maybe add something, or maybe reflect on it from your perspective, how you look at it. So it's over to you, Kamal.
Well, I like your perspective. I don't totally agree with it, because there's a sense of having, the more expectation you have, the more disappointments you get. And living without expectations leads you with no disappointments at all. However, we are human and we want things, or we call them needs sometimes. And as long as there is a want, there is an expectation. Now, I'm very careful when I say need and want. In life, we only need to eat and drink. All the rest is, you can live without it.
And breathe.
Well, this is obvious. I mean, this is natural biology. But I'm just saying, the house, the wife, the husband, the boyfriend, girlfriend, children, car, all of that is unimportant. These are not needs, these are wants. Now, when we're talking about expectations, I think a lot of people use the word need instead of a want, and causes them to have major expectations in their life about how they're going to move forward, how they're going to get things, what steps they need to take, not want to take, but need to take to reach what they want, or in their mind, what they need, obviously. And that's where I kind of disagree with you, is you can live a life without expectations if you are truly spiritually connected. Now, Buddhist monks, for instance, they have no expectation in their life. They are free of expectations. Very high spiritual people are free of expectations. When we are, as coaches, we do have expectations of our clients. For instance, a client comes in and they want to grow and they want to learn and they go through a process with a coach. That means there is a result. And if there is a result, there is an expectation from one or the other person. I agree on that part. But the expectation, for instance, is for somebody to do the work. The expectation is to abide by the rule. The expectation is to be true to yourself, for instance, when it comes to, for me, life purpose. And that expectation, for me, is related to your values in life, how you see yourself and what you want in your life rather than what you need in it. But that's my perspective again. It's that's why we're here and we're discussing these things. And I don't know, what do you think, Namsa? Or Evelyn, if you actually have a comment, because you look like the wife working there.
Because actually, I was still waiting for the disagreement, because you were explaining a couple of things that I completely agree with. Actually, I even write about it in my book, because I have a chapter on the topic of expectations, living free of expectations, and I totally agree with that. So I was kind of still listening to where's the disagreement, because I think that still the fact that, for example, in relationships, and I think that in a context of relationships, many of us find it really difficult to let go of expectations, because that's something many of my clients, I see them really struggling with it, because it's so difficult to see that actually the expectations that you have, that you're the biggest enemy, actually, because that's really your inner process that you do. But what is important, that's something that you kind of stress on, is that the fact that you are aware of that you have certain, wants, certain desires from deep within that could make it into an expectations, but could make it into an expectation. But then it definitely, expectations, it really is an inner process. And I think that really is key, to really be a master of your own mind, of your own thinking, and to really be able to be that observer and to see how expectations that you put on someone else that actually do not have anything to do with the other, because it's an inner process. And so, but we'll continue on that. Let Namsa reflect on it, because I could see that she's smiling, so she probably has something to say about this as well.
I actually agree with both of you, because I'm listening on the other side, and Kamal is speaking and you were speaking, but you're both wording things different, but I'm understanding it the same way, that you all speaking the same language, although Kamal disagrees with you. So I was waiting for this disagreement as well, where it comes from, because you were talking about you have to understand what's there, what's underneath. And he was talking about we are all human. We all have our wants. We all have our desires as well. But then he was explaining that the cars, the whatever we want, it doesn't matter as long as you actually understand who you really are as a person. But from my point of view is, I used to have expectations in life. I have lots of expectations, and my parents I'm sure they did have expectations about me. And like when a child, they grow up, they finish school, they graduate, they get married, that's the expectations of our parents and our society. But I was never that child. And I said to my parents, I'm never going to be that child where you finish this, you do this, you do this. I love music, I love sports, so I'm gonna go off and do sports. So that was me. But then I had to question my parents. Do you feel disappointed with who I become? And my mom, my dad, they were like, no, we love you. So sometimes we put our expectations, and we actually tell ourselves that this is what people expect from us. But it actually is not true, because that's what we think. That means we're lying. But then I had to change my mindset when it comes to expectation, because everything that I did, my expectations, I get disappointed. I choose the love of my life. I make plans. I say, when I see myself in 5 years, this, then I get disappointed when after 10 years, a relationship doesn't work out. And then I set up whatever I do something, then I have expectations. Or if I meet Kamal, I have this, if I had this mind that this is who Kamal I want him to be, if Kamal does not become what I want, then I get disappointed. But then I had to sit down, basically as a Christian. I was like asking myself, what is going on? What am I doing? So I had to change my mindset. I had to change my thinking to say whatever I seek is within me. First, I have to find it within me. However, I'm going to meet Evelyn with my expectations. I have to get rid of my expectations and let Evelyn show me who Evelyn is. The bad, the good. And then I decide whether if I want to stay with Evelyn or not. And I have to decide whether, with my business, Hope Springs Eternal Introduction Agency, as a Christian, I was like, my way doesn't work. So I had to seek a higher power to say, God, how do you want Hope Springs Eternal Introduction to be? And it was like, this is how I want to be. But I find that answer within me. So some people think you have to go and search for God. So I didn't search for him. I knew he was within me. The answer is within me. This is how I want. And, you know, every year, like, I think this year, Hope Springs Eternal Introduction Agency, I've got 3 titles. I've got another one. I had another one a few days ago, the best company in Southeast, because I cover all over Europe. But those were not my expectations when I built the company. When I built the company, it was like I didn't know the journey. I knew what I wanted, the path. I created the path, and I created the vision in my head, the problems, and the expectations were whatever will be, let it be. So that's how I deal with life. And I would love to read your book, because I really love ideas of expectations. Over to you, Evelyn. I know you are itching because this is your subject. You are the expert in this one.
Well, you mentioned a lot of things that are really interesting, because the fact that, you know, that we talk about having expectations ourselves, but you mentioned expectations of your parents that we deal with, or maybe if we have any children, that we have expectations of our children. And it's really important to reflect on it, on your childhood, to see like how was the influence of your parents, and where did you feel that they were having expectations, and what did it do to you, and to really unravel it and understand it. Because I think that a lot of that, the things that we're facing, and especially the patterns that we are dealing with in our lives is go back to our childhood in what we sense there. And I think it's growing our inner wisdom and being aware of what happened back then, and how somehow whatever the expectations of our parents, how it felt for us. Because you see many people that are still, you know, having the pitfall of repeating what happened to our parents and how they affected us regarding expectations. Is that how many people, because I have 2 kids, they're doing sports, and how often do you see parents that are really pushing their children to do something because they didn't succeed in doing it themselves? So they have these expectations that they want their kids to do it because they didn't. So they're really, what they're doing is they're reflecting on what their own desires were, and they reflected on their children. And that is so interesting if you just step back and be that observer, and to see and to feel what happened in your own childhood, and how did it affect you, and how can you use that to change it in a way that you deal with it, for example, towards your own kids. And so I don't know what you think about that, Kamal, because I know that you're a parent too.
That perspective, I really like it, because it reflects a little bit something we call perspective. Today, my head is not where it is supposed to be, somewhere there. Perceptual positions in neurolinguistic programming. And perceptual positions allows us to view arguments, discussions, disagreements from different perspectives, from my personal view, from your personal view, from a third person, a fourth person, or even a fifth person, right? And what happened is that we managed to get a person into a disattached mode where they can see and reflect exactly like you were talking about on why is that happening? How can it affect that person, and how can it not affect that person? How can it improve the situation if it were to change? So that perspective is, I'm totally on board with that. And like Nomsa was saying, she made me laugh a little bit, because she went back to her parents saying, "Are you disappointed?" That means automatically in her head, she had expectations that they had expectations, right? Always that mind reading of what people want or feel or think. And you mentioned the same thing in a relationship. If you enter a relationship, what was the saying? Women enter a relationship with the idea of changing a man, and a man enters a relationship with the idea of never changing. I think there was something like that. I think there's a saying like that at some point. But the idea here is very similar. If you enter a relationship with values that are not aligned, with ideologies that are not aligned, and I'm not talking religiously, with certain results that you want, not expectation, but results that you want, how you're going to treat each other, what is respect, what is trust, what is loyalty, what is accepted, what is not accepted. If one enters a relationship without these, especially values, I mean core values, there will always be that expectation of, oh, why didn't you put the seat, I don't know, the toilet seat down? Well, I've put it for like 10 times down. I just forgot it once. Did you have to remember now? Doesn't make a difference, right? But you see, there's that expectation that if you do it once, you have to do it all the time. Not necessarily. Again, this is our human part, our attachment to certain things that frustrate us. And like you mentioned, it's just a trigger. There's something deeper that goes on. There's something that you are causing your children, for instance, with children, right? This is, you were talking about sports or education and all that, and that's the same thing. You want them to be better than you. And that's fair. That's great that you want them to be better than you. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But to expect them to excel at everything that you could not, that is sad in a sense, because we're very different. And what they might enjoy and like is very different. They are their own people, their own person. Even at the age of 4 and 3, they are shaping themselves. So from a parent perspective, when I'm with my kids, I teach them everything I know. And I tell them, now I'm not telling you to do it or not. There are certain things we do. Manners, etiquette, this is a no-go. I'm teaching you do this, you follow it until you're 18. Once you're 18 and you get out of the house, you can do whatever you want. But these are my rules. But when it comes to educating them in life about whatever it is, I tell them, this is what I know. You take it or you leave it. You either listen to me or you don't listen to me. I'm not going to be bothered. Because it's up to them, and it's up to each person to decide whether they want to listen to us or not as well, right? And it's the same thing with clients that come to you and they say, you're going to fix me. No, I'm not going to fix you. It's your job to fix yourself. I'm not doing that. If you're here for me to fix you, I don't want your money. It's very simple. And I think that's we're growing on the same level of understanding here. And just to adjust something, my disagreement was the very beginning when I said the more expectations we have, the more disappointments we have. And I realized that this was a quote from Alexander Pope. I mean, a long time ago, obviously. But he said it differently. I can't remember it, but it's a very similar quote. And yeah, I don't know. That's how I view this matter here, especially with parents, at least.
I actually agree with you guys. When it comes to parenting, like, you guys, my children are doing acting and stuff. So what I did with my children was my youngest one, she's 5, she's the lucky one. But my oldest one, I put everything on hold when it comes to acting. I wanted her to be in that age where she understands what she's putting herself into. Because I've been in that world. It's a cruel world. It's not a very beautiful world. So I wanted my daughter to understand where she is putting herself into, instead of me being the one that says, oh, you can do this, you can do this. So I knew that it's not about her becoming famous. It's about her understanding what she wants. So when she started acting properly, year before last year, that's when I agreed to the agency, and the agency wanted her when she was 9 years old, because she's been with the dancing and the agency company for, I think, since she was 5. She's 14 now, so I put it on hold. But then now she understands, because when she goes filming, the hours are long. We get up at 4, we have to be there for 6 a.m. and she's 14. And she understands. The youngest one, at least, she starts at 9 o'clock. So she understands. And the other day she was telling me, because they did the TV series, and the main actor, and she was like, "Mommy, I couldn't understand. Why would somebody else?" She said we were doing filming, but the main actor, like, she's got people giving her water, giving her this. Is kind of embarrassing. Like, if I was like doing it myself, and asking people to do that, I would feel embarrassed. I was like, we were like, they've got money, they can afford it, but sometimes that's not the way for you to treat people like that, to say you can't get your own water. It's like, no matter how rich you are, you get rich you are, know that you can always go and get your own water, not to ask somebody to get you some water, unless if you are on the scene, like you are filming in front of the camera, if you can't reach, but always go and get your own thing. And it made me realize, actually, she can understand the behavior, because I explained to her that money does not change who you are. You have to have values, you still have to respect people. And she was like the way she was describing it was like, this person was treating other people like, I have money than you, and I'm famous, I've got this, so you don't, so you're gonna do this for me. So I was like, no, that's not how you treat people. You have to, because in that way we have expectation that when we get rich, so everyone has to bow down to us, but that's not the case. So I was glad that looking at them, that actually they do understand now, that in that behavior where they understand the industry, and it's gotta be a choice. But then she basically continued talking about her career, what she wants to do, nothing to do with the acting or music, which is a part of it. That is the strongest part of her life. But I don't interfere, because I have a rule in my house, principles, that if you choose to do activities, if we do the same activity for 1 year, that means you can't get out of it. The reason I say that is because children can make decision and say, I don't want to do this because of friends. I don't want to do this. So I say, if you stick to one activity over a year, that means you like it. So you can't get out of it, because that means I'm wasting my money for you to keep trying and getting out. So basically they chose the activities, few of them, not loads. And that's what we're sticking to it. If anything comes out, I always say, your daddy can take you. I'm not a taxi driver. So you've chosen certain activities, you're going to stick to it, because I don't want to be the parents that lives in the car. I can't do everything. So they understand that. So those are the principles that we have in the house, that I need to look at my life. If someone was, when I was playing football, if someone was to say, no, sir, you need to be a lawyer, I'll be like, you're kidding me. I can be a lawyer, yes, but not now. It's not something that I love to do. I loved playing football. I loved getting messy when it rains, running, getting muddy, or playing on the floor, getting muddy. That was me. So if someone was to say you need to wear your suit and go to the office, I'll be like, I don't think so. I don't wear, even now, I don't wear suits. So I'll be like, I don't think so. So you see the expectations. So if somebody will have expectations in me, that wasn't me, it will be frustrating for them, it will be frustrating for me. And that's why I had enough of expectations. I divorced the expectations, Evelyn. I just live a free life.
Yeah.
Over to you.
Well, I was just thinking about, I had a quite full calendar this week, and it happened actually twice, even earlier today, that I had an appointment with someone that booked a meeting with me, and this person somehow forgot the appointment, or they didn't show up. And I think that what is really interesting about it, I don't know what it was, one of you mentioned something that kind of triggered this story, is that we very often as human beings, we tend to think when someone forgets an appointment or whatever, we reflect on it and we tend to take it really personally. And I think that really is the problem of, how we, Kamal, you were just talking about your values. My values are that as much as I can, to my best of abilities, I a promise is a promise and a meeting is a meeting, but we're all human. Something can happen. But what we tend to do is when someone doesn't show up, we think, oh, there must be something wrong, or they forgot me, or they might think I'm not important enough or whatever. And I think that is so tricky because you don't even know what's in their mind or what is happening, what the reason of that is. And I think that really is the interesting thing about the smallest things that we face in our daily lives, how we can, be that observer and see, like, what am I doing here? What you could do is you could reach out to the person and let them know, it's like, you might have missed it, let's set up a new meeting, this and that, and then let it go. Because, I think that is just a way you can really liberate yourself from something that might, really bother you. And that's what I hear a lot. And this is just a very specific example that happened to me. And I could, see that this might be a potential trigger. But what I do, I very deliberately see, like, okay, I sent them a message and then, it's off there. And that, it doesn't, I don't feel anything there. I don't let it grab me. And I think that really is important, talking about, values and expectations. So, and there's another angle, but I'll bring that up later.
It's funny you're talking about these appointments, right? Because like my grandmother's Swiss German, so appointments and being punctual, this is it's in our blood, right, as a family. And once I started coaching like professionally, and I learned a little bit more about understanding people's behaviors, I've had a few clients that, like, they didn't ghost, but they just forgot about the session like you did. And I would be there and I wait about 10 minutes. I have a contract with them usually that says, like, if you're 15 minutes late, it's canceled and all of that, But then within 5-6 minutes, if they're not there, I send them a message like you do, right? It's like, yeah, are you coming on? Oh, I completely forgot. I'm in the middle of, I don't know. Oh, well, okay. Enjoy your time. Have fun. No worries. We'll postpone it. And I'm okay with it. I let it go, like you say. And it's like, wow, I've got an hour. I can do whatever I want to do. I'm not going to work for it. I take it as an opportunity to release whatever it is that I want. Because you might be in that position. Okay, I'm going to be doing some work now for an hour. This has to do with somebody else. You coaching, whatever it is, writing. And then suddenly you have an hour free. And people don't realize that that's when you say, like, you have to actually seize that moment, because that's a moment in your day that has been gifted to you as an opportunity. But people forget about that. Oh, what am I going to do now? Okay, so I have this hour. I'm going to work on this, on this, on this, on this. Yes, but what about taking an hour for yourself and enjoying it? Because you were supposed to do something else. And again, this comes back to the same thing that we're all talking about, these expectations that we have from ourselves and from people. And it's, I stand there with you on that perspective as well.
And it is once you, and that once you can see how this is a potential danger for you to really spoil that free hour that is actually the time gift, by just really getting worried about what the other might think, and just we really fill in a story for the other person that is just, completely fantasy, and it's all about fear. But if you really, stay with your core and your soul doesn't know fear. And that's I think it's important to stress this out.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like to hear what the audience, we have audience watching, but they're very quiet. I would like to hear their thoughts about expectations, how they are.
You're already putting expectations on them now.
I would like to hear different point of views, because it's life. We learn from each other. Like Evelyn was saying, it's like, when I've done that, I think to people as well, where I make an appointment and then I forget about it. And I'm like, and someone is like, are you coming on? I'm like, oh, I forgot. But then if I'm in front of the computer, I just say, okay, I'll be 2 minutes. So sometimes you do forget because of the busy life that we lead, or sometimes, but now I can't forget, because if I make an appointment with someone, I have to set the alarm on my phone. So that's how I remember. The alarm goes off, or I put it on my calendar. So that means I can't miss both of them. So that helps me a lot. But I've not done it to my clients, but I've done it to other people though. So with my clients,
And I think, as you just mentioned, Namza, is that everybody is different, and some people are just more disciplined in following up on things, and that's okay. But I think you do have to take a responsibility and to see what your flaws are and how you can organize your life not to make it affect other people as much. So I think that's just also part of it. And something else that I wanted to bring up, because I was just thinking about it while one of you were speaking about goal setting, is that what I think in the context of expectations is important is that what I see in my business is that a lot of people are very, very focused on the specific way in which they expect something to appear in their lives. And I think that's also something where you can free yourself from letting go of the form in which something will appear in your life. Because sometimes an opportunity may arise, but because you have such a strict way of how you want it to appear in your life, that you don't even notice that an opportunity comes up. And so I think that's also really important to be aware of that. It's extremely important that talking about expectations, to some extent we'll all be having them, but that you open up if you set certain goals or if you have certain dreams, that there's so many different ways how this can, become a reality. And
it's that tunnel vision you're talking about, and I really like it because it happens to a lot of people. I mean, it happened to me. I remember when I got separated and during the divorce process, my parents came over, and this is one of the things that, like, this sentence from my father changed my life. And I was so tunnel visioned. I was so I had lost my job. I had lost the fact that I couldn't see my children every day and put them to bed as I'm used to, taking them to school. These habits that you're attached to. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't focus on anything. I didn't know what to do, how to do it, what was going to happen. And he just said, come on, you're not reading the message here, right? You need to open up your eyes a little bit. It's not what's happening to you now or what happened to you. It's what you have been given. And you have been given the gift of time. Yeah. And he just said that sentence. Yeah. And it made a massive difference in my life. Yeah. And that was my tunnel vision, like you were explaining. I was completely focused on what bad had happened, what was, why it wasn't working, why I couldn't get a job another time, what was the kids. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, I have this huge vision that, oh my God, I've got time. I can do whatever I want to change myself, to change this, to have time for my children afterwards, and and grow. And so that tunnel vision is very important, especially as well now that when you're talking about goal setting, when people set their goals, they have that tunnel vision. They don't see it broadly. It's like when you want to go somewhere and, well, the door is closed, but I mean, I'm not saying to be a thief, but the door is closed, but then the window is open, right? You forgot your keys. Let's say it's your house, right? You forgot your keys inside the house and the door is locked. You can't do it. You go around and, oh, there's a window open. Oh, you see, there's a window open. You're not going to get stuck on the door. It's like, I can't get into the door. Just look around.
Actually, I see one of the people that are listening in was commenting on the German mind. You know, that's something that you refer to, Kamal, regarding appointment, and says that I think it's a lack of respect if you're late. And I think that's really interesting because that's also a potential danger because, you know, as we were just explaining previously, is that, you know, that's talking about being free of judgments. It's also really important to just step back and, you know, take a deep breath and allow the other person that you don't even know what's happening, why they're late. Maybe something really horrible happened or whatever. And it's all human. And that's, you know, that's also about the values that we have, that we copy them on what others should be thinking or doing. And everybody is different. And I truly believe that every single person is pure love in their foundation, but, you know, somehow we all have certain experiences in life that have an effect on us, so that somehow, you know, make us carry on with certain values or whatever. But by having compassion with others, I think that is a way how you can free yourself, because it's especially about the effect that it has on ourselves. Is that it, you know, that it's a way of having compassion with the other, but by doing that you free yourself from certain burden of frustration or feelings that are actually, you know, just in your way of living a life and being happy and feeling good about yourself. So I really appreciate that comment, because it was just a nice way to follow up on that.
Actually, for me, it's like if I have an appointment, I have to be early. It's always in my head because my work is normally on my laptop or on my phone, so I can work anywhere. So if I'm early, that means I can work it before that person comes in. And sometimes I never notice when someone is late because I'm busy working, so it works for me. But as we were talking about expectations, I had to, it's a habit that is really, really hard to maintain when you actually want to get rid of expectations, because when what you are saying, Evelyn, that somebody might be stuck with the traffic, or they might be stuck with something we don't know, and then we start judging them, that we get upset because we have this. So if I make an appointment, like if with my clients, I always make sure I have appointment in the same place, or if it's a different town, that's fine. I leave myself time to travel, but then I have to get rid of expectations, because if things don't work my way, don't work the way I want them to be, I'm gonna be disappointed and I'm gonna get upset. It's like in Gossip Talk Show, the speakers, sometimes I have speakers that tell me last minute that, okay, I've made an appointment with my mom and with my this. So I'm like, what is important to you? You are telling me that you've had an appointment with your mom, and now you're telling me, no, so what should I do? So what do you think? So I'm like, if you're telling me the truth, that you've had an appointment with your mom, or it's your mom's birthday, family comes first, you should send me a message and say, no, sir, I double booked myself. I'm supposed to be with my mom. Are you gonna cop on your own? I'm like, in Gossip Talk Show, I can cop on my own. I can broadcast on my own. It's fine. So family comes first. As long as you're telling the truth. That's what I've learned. I used to tell porcupines. Sometimes if I can't turn up on time when I'm doing something, I used to find it easy for me to tell porcupines 12 years ago, until I read Paul McKenna. I started getting involved with Paul McKenna's programs. And it was like, if you really, really, really need to find out who you really are within you, these are the things, the principles that you need to follow. Get rid of. Number one was the porcupines. If you are someone who tells a little lie, so get rid of it. Like sometimes if you are late at work, instead of telling the truth that I'm actually late because I'm late, there's nothing I can do about it, but you start creating stories. So I had to get rid of that. basically get rid of it completely in my heart and in my life. If I'm doing something, if there's something happens, it happens. There's nothing I can do. Always tell the truth. Those are the principles that I live by. That
be relentlessly yourself.
Yes.
That really is what it is. It's
Yes.
not be afraid of the consequences of being you. And if this is just, something that happened, that's just what it is. And just, speak up and be completely who you are. And
it's funny when Western society talks about being punctual and on time. Try living in the Mediterranean area.
Yeah.
You will understand what it means to have no sense of time, and you will stop being disappointed in people being late.
Yeah, or in the Caribbean, that's mañana.
Yeah, it happens when it happens. It doesn't matter. And I think it's okay, as much as it's frustrating at times because you have plans, for instance, or you want to do certain things at certain times because of other appointments. It has a sense. It has some sense of learning perspective,
yeah.
Which is to that sense of letting go of expectations.
Yeah.
I mean, you rely on somebody. You say you're going to the airport and you need somebody to drive you to the airport, and that person, you call them in the morning, they're not there. You're relying on them. You're expecting them to be there. You call them once, you call them twice, they're not there. Okay, get a cab, get something else, do something else. But people get stuck in that wheel, that cycle of, you didn't come, I was relying on you. And that's the expectation, right? That expectation frustrates you. That expectation builds up that bubbling emotion of anger and annoyance and miscontentment.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're all talking about, is letting go of that need to be, I don't know, right? To the need to be, no, it's this way. That's what I expect of you. You don't really have to expect anything. I think it was Bruce Lee that said, he said, I'm not in this world to live up to your expectation, nor are you in this world to live up to mine. And I really like that, because it's the concept of releasing yourself of any expectations, releasing your mind from society's expectations of you, right? Because there are expectations from society as well, which I don't live or adhere to. I go down to the stores with the kids and I go and play the clown, and we make animal sounds and pretend that there's an animal there, and I have fun. I don't adhere to society's rules as long as I'm not harming anybody. Why? Because I want to be, as you put it, relentlessly myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't have these expectations of society either. You live free.
Yeah. Actually, I was just reading a comment of Hanifa that she's responding, and I love that way she's sharing. And she says, I agree with you. We can send messages when late. There is a French proverb. Excuse s'accuse. I don't know how to French. He who excuses himself accuses himself regarding expectations, especially when people. I'm a giver. Stopped a long time ago to expect. I've made a pact with God to payback comes when elsewhere when needed. That's karma, right? I think it's a beautiful thought. Thank you so much for sharing that, because it's.
I'd say amen to that as well. That is, that's a good principle, to be a giver, not expect anyone. I like to give. I used to give and then expect people they're gonna do something. It's like on my birthday, on my 40th, what happened? I had I invited people that live really, really far away, and I didn't expect them to turn up, because I only celebrate. I never used to celebrate my birthday. The first time I celebrated my birthday was my 30th, my 40th, and that's it. I don't celebrate my birthday, basically. But anyone in the house that lives with me, I expect them to buy me present because I'll ask for it. If you haven't got me a present, I want to find out why you haven't got me a present. And that's when I get a chance to name what I want. So this phone that is making noise, it's part of my birthday present. So I didn't expect, I invited these people. I didn't expect them to actually turn up. And one of my friends, she lives really far, and she turned up with a car. And I was like, why have you got these things in your car? And she was like, it's your 40th, right? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, so I'm coming to decorate your birthday. She does wedding venues and stuff. I was like, what now? So then I watched it, and she was like, where's the venue? I took her to the venue in the morning. Luckily, I booked the venue for I think the whole day. You have it the whole day. So she went and decorated it. When I walked in, I was like, am I getting married? What is happening? I was touched with what she's done. Honestly, I'll put the for a little video clip on it was the best day ever. And when I looked at it, she didn't know what kind of dress I was going to wear. And her decorations matched my dress and everything. And I was like, sometimes it is nice to just love people and not expect anything, because this is the person that is sticked with me all my life, and I've sticked with her all her life. And I don't expect anything from her, but she just turned up, and I know this is what she does, but I had no idea. I had to spend my own money. Can you imagine, for decorations? And I was like, I can't use the decorations, but this is what I didn't expect. It was so beautiful in a way that, like Hanifa talks about God getting rid of expectations and being a giver. And that's when I realized that actually, when you don't expect anything from anyone, and you just give love, then God will connect you with the right people that are going to look after you. Because I think I've got 3 or 4 friends that I've known for more than 20 years, and they're not. I don't see them as my friend anymore. They're like family, and I'm like, what you give to the world, that's what you're gonna get. If you give expecting expectations, you're gonna be disappointed. And that's when I actually realized that actually I need to stop expecting things from people, and just actually be me and just give unconditional love. And that's why you lot are getting unconditional love from me and Ghosty talk shows. Because I love you guys, and I appreciate you as well. And you're part of my family, and that's who I am. And do I have expectations from you guys? No, I don't. I just want you to be you, show your personalities, who you really are. That's all I want, because people want to see the real you. And it's not about me as well. It's about what you give to the world, to people. So that is my expectations. He does the work, actually, more than I expected as well. And that's why I'm realizing that actually not expecting anyone to do something, they do it. So you might as well say, God, I love you and I love people. Over to you, Evelyn.
Well, I think what I like about what you just mentioned is that without having expectations, actually everything is a surprise.
Yeah.
And actually that, it's almost like a nice closure for today's conversation, actually. I really like that. And I think that really is the key lesson for all of us, including myself daily, is that, work on really being that observer and see how expectations can capture you and how they can influence you, and make that deliberate decision, that heartfelt decision, not to let it control you, but to see that as, the steps that you can take to learn and to grow and to work on your inner wisdom, that, if you can be as much as possible free of expectations, and, be open to all the surprises that life gives you, that throws at you. So that's more of a closing word from me today, I guess. Kamal.
I like that. Well, I usually end with quotes, but I have two quotes that I'm struggling to share today, so I'm going to share them both.
Yeah.
The first one is so people realize that they're missing out on one thing, and that one thing is the quote of Horace. People always say carpe diem, but they forget the rest of the quote. Quam minimum credula postero. Trusting as little as possible in tomorrow. And why I'm sharing that is because it's related to these expectations that people have. You seize the day and block the day, or whatever translation you want, and do whatever you can with the moment. But don't expect for tomorrow to be the same. Let tomorrow be as it is. And if the tide grows, if you get a good catch, then seize the day again. And the other quote is from Stephen Hawking. And because of who he is and who he was, his life, I think it was in an article I read, I can't remember, but he said, my expectations were reduced at the age of 21. Everything after that became a bonus.
Yeah.
And so when his expectation has been reduced to none or zero, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea behind it, again, is we all have these expectations, but if we remove these expectations from our lives, everything else becomes a surprise. Everything in our life becomes a gift. Every moment one can enjoy it to eternity, I guess. So that's what I want to leave the audience with today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kamal. I love both of you, what you've just said. And I like the part where it says expectations were reduced. So for me, I leave you with this. There's, all the audience are watching. So I just want to let you guys know that, people expect you to be something. But if you want to live by that, it's fine, but it's frustrating. So what I will leave you is be the person that you think you should be. And you can find that within yourself. Like I'm doing Gossip Talk Show with everybody here. My expectations from Gossip Talk Show is they're not with them. It's with God, because God is above them all. So it's with God to take them to the next level. That's what I expect. And because this is my vision, that I want to take these guys to the next level. So I always say on the table and say, God, and this, and sometimes I regret it because sometimes I say, God, if there is anyone who is holding Gossip Talk Show not moving forward, and sometimes one of the speakers go early or on one, and then they're like, I'm out. So I've stopped doing that. So I've stopped doing that now. I'm just praying to God now to say, God, I don't have expectations, but what do you believe Gossip Talk Show should be? So those are my expectations. And I believe that you can be who you want to be. If you really, really wanted to be something, you can be who you want to be. If you look at me, when I looked at myself, when I was young, where I grew up in two different houses. My stepdad comes from a wealthy family. My dad was a teacher. He comes from his family. They're not wealthy, but they're better off. So if you were to come, my daddy had different houses, village and city. I love living in the village because it's more fun. So I go to school in the village. So if you were to look at me when I was in that age of 6, 10, or 12, if you could think that I would be here today, there was no way. But I believed in it myself, and my parents believed in me. So what I'm trying to say to you is have expectations for yourself within, that who you should become. And then if you have those expectations that this is who I want to become, That means you're going to keep unleashing, and I keep unleashing and keep falling and keep unleashing. And then you become that, what you expect of you. If you want to be a billionaire, you become that. But it requires work, patience, courage, strength, unconditional love, and being zero tolerance of laziness. That's all I leave you with. Anyone have something, or we done, guys?
I think we're good.
We're good. So we are here Monday to Friday at Ngozi Talk Show, 1 p.m. UK time. So if you're watching Ngozi Talk Show later, you want to get in touch with Evelyn and Kamal, or you want to get in touch with me, I deal with love, unconditional love. So if you're looking for love, and you can get in touch with us and Ngozi Talk Show, or you can go to YouTube channel. Every video has the link. I'll put the link for these guys. And Evelyn, I think she has a book. Is it out for English version or not yet?
Yes, it is. It's available on Amazon and in the UK on Barnes & Noble. Be relentlessly yourself. So
yeah, you can get a book. I'll ask her to give me the link. I'll put the link on the video on Facebook and YouTube, and you guys can get in touch with them and become who you want to become. Hang out with them. Hang out with these people, and you become who you want to become, because they'll teach you the secret of why they're doing what they're doing and how they've done it. Live with grace, everyone, and God bless you. Bye, Kamal's mommy. I love you.